Onc Live Insights is a video editorial program produced by Onc Live.
So NEPA, or Akynzeo as it's now marketed, is a combination of palonosetron, which is a 5-HT3 receptor antagonist, along with a new NK1 receptor antagonist called natupatant. Hence, natupatant and palonosetron got NEPA. The advantages of this drug are that it's a single pill which combines an NK1 receptor antagonist with a 5-HT3 receptor antagonist, working on two mechanisms of nausea in a single pill. And natupatant has a 96-hour half-life in combination with palonosetron, which has a 3-day half-life. And the oral fixed dosing allows for some flexibility that isn't available with just an IV formulation. Patients take the single capsule prior to receiving chemotherapy as part of prophylaxis, and FDA approval is for highly metagenic chemotherapy, but it's not only limited to highly metagenic chemotherapy, a very important parenthetical indication.
There are three recent clinical trials that were published in the Annals of Oncology regarding natupatant, or natupatant plus palonosetron, NEPA drug. One of them was first authored by Dr. Paul Hesketh. This is a clinical trial that looked at patients receiving highly metagenic chemotherapy. It was a 5-arm study. It was double-blinded. Patients received the same amount of palonosetron for 3 different preparations, but they got 3 different amounts of natupatant, 100 milligrams versus 200 milligrams versus 300 milligrams. So those were 3 of the arms. One of the arms was palonosetron alone without the natupatant, and the last arm was ondansetron and aprepitant, the other NK1 receptor antagonist, and a, if you will, less ideal 5-HT3 receptor antagonist. The end result of this trial was that the 300 natupatant dose with the palonosetron was the best arm in this particular trial. That's not all that surprising, since that 300 was better than 100 or 200. There was a dose-response curve, and you hadn't gotten to the lip of that curve. And then it wasn't surprising that it was better than palonosetron alone, because you're adding an NK1 receptor antagonist to the palonosetron. And it wasn't surprising that it was better than the ondansetron and aprepitant, because it was a less effective 5-HT3 receptor antagonist. A second study, also published in the same issue of the Annals of Oncology, was first authored by Dr. Roeland. This looked at multiple different doses of natupatant and palonosetron given over different cycles of chemotherapy, so only 1 dose per cycle, but several different cycles. It was done in patients with moderately metagenic chemotherapy and highly metagenic chemotherapy. About 75% of the patients received highly metagenic chemotherapy, and about 25% received moderately metagenic chemotherapy. That trial was compared to aprepitant and palonosetron. The bottom line result from that trial was that the 2 regimens were quite similar to each other. That supported that natupatant was similar to aprepitant. The third trial in that issue was actually first authored by Dr. Apro, and this was a trial done in patients with moderately metagenic chemotherapy. It was double-blinded. It compared natupatant and palonosetron to palonosetron alone. And this demonstrated that palonosetron plus natupatant was better than the palonosetron alone, which is not particularly surprising given that you're given an NK1 receptor antagonist on top of the 5-HT3 receptor antagonist.